Major Malcolm Wheeler-Nicholson, and
Okay.
it's up to you.
You know, with Craig Flessel's death last week, 95 years old, I may be the last person who was in the 4th Avenue offices of DC Comics. And you, Ben Sullivan, Whit, Ellsworth, I was 10 years old, I'm 80 now. And I guess you're concerned that this occurred, I better say, hopefully it's all right. Because there aren't too many of us, you know. What sort of a man was he? He was a fascinating man, had nothing whatever to do with a popular picture of him that was put out. And you know, a little bit of background here. Most of us in the family, after DC Comics was lost to Harry Donenfeld and to Jack Leibowitz, didn't have anything to do with the comic book other than becoming comic book fans. We all read the same comic books as anybody else. Without any sense of propriety, or it was our thing, we knew there had been, and there was never any discussion in the family of when he died. So we've only found out about this very recently. And we looked into it, and of course the popular pictures in the family were totally at odds with our actual memories. It had nothing to do with them. We began to say, wait a minute, there's a wrong picture here. I mean, the stories out that the old man wore a beaver hat and a French army officer's cape. Well, this was a man who dressed incredibly conservatively. He would have a business suit and a fedora and so forth. You know, if he ever wandered around, roped around the streets in that attire, we were noticed. You know, it was so far from the real human being. And what sort of a man, to answer your question, was he? He was really a fascinating man. It's not only that I knew him in those years, in 37, 38, and I was 10 years old, but I knew him the rest of his life. You know, he was 75, and I was in my late 30s, and was actually in business with him for a time. He was a brilliant man. He was very self-assured and incredibly charming. Charmed the pants off you. I mean, just a great raconteur. He had flaws as a human being in the sense that he was so assured of that what he was doing was sounding right. He could tend to walk through things and just say, well, this is what we have to do. Always was incredible, as I say, incredible charm and incredible savoir-faire and so forth. I don't know how many of you know, but he was an army officer. Well, he was a professional army officer. And he got into a war with the government and the War Department about the way the army was being run. And he got himself into a court-martial situation where he wrote an open letter to the president, which is against the law. As an officer, you can't go above your command. He knew it. And he did that deliberately, saying, we're not getting anywhere doing it the normal way, so I'm going to just go for broke. And they court-martialed him. They slapped him on the wrist and said, your promotions are going to be way down. And he said, you know, my day is through here. And he went out and he started writing pulp fiction. Well, he was one of the 2 or 3 great pulp fiction writers with hundreds of stories and made lots of money. I grew up in a chateau in Paris, you know, on the money that was made. And then he decided that the world of graphics and the written word were meant to be together. And he was going to do that. And he came and started a thing. He stopped writing, and we were all broke. I can't tell you we're broke. I mean, bill collectors knocking on the doors. It was unbelievable. And it led into his beginning. Before the comic book, he put Treasure Island and the novel She by H. Rider Haggard. It was a marvelous adventure story. It was an incredible woman who I fell in love with at 9 years old. It was very racy as far as I was concerned. But he really foresaw the graphic novel, so that was really the way to go. And the comic book was a step towards that. And then he started the new fun and more fun, and then Detective Comics, which became instantly successful. And suddenly, all the financial troubles began to wear away. During that time, he was, I guess I'd use the word obsessed. He worked on it 24/7. And we were coming out of being broke. Mother, my mother was this Swedish aristocratic woman who had never cooked a meal, didn't know how to boil an egg, and suddenly she found herself with 5 children, dead broke, and scrubbing floors. This was very exciting. And I never heard her complain. I never heard her complain. She was really, when you say the word aristocrat, she was kind of that. Anyway, what sort of man was he? A visionary, brilliant, a little bit of a spoiled child. And he wanted to do it. His poor wife was scrubbing children, scrubbing floors and children. Well, that's what you had to do. He was incredibly fair. I mean, Craig Russell talks about it. We interviewed Craig after before he died last year, actually. And he said, there were rumors that he was stiffing artists and writers. He said it was absolutely overpaid unless there was no money and nobody got paid. And God knows we knew that we were probably not paid ourselves, So, to try to get down to the essence of the man, his walk was, you remember, the Johnny Walker label, that happy sort of, that's happy stroke. He strode through the world, I just thought, marching along. He wasn't a tall man, he got 5'9" or so, with a barrel chest, great fine physique, and piercing blue eyes.